We will start the April 11th Public Safety Meeting. I am here. Councilmember Fullerton and Baldwin are both here. We're going to switch things around and go straight to action items, and we'll do reports later. So we'll start, Chief, with everything you got on here.
I got just a couple. The first one, we were lucky enough to get a grant to send one of our officers to professionalizing law enforcement community engagement training in Atlanta, Georgia. So this one is requesting permission to send an officer to this training. And again, it's all reimbursed. So I think we have to pay for per diem is all. So it costs us about $400 out of our training budget, but looks like a great conference. And I think you know how important community engagement is to the PD and looking for new ways to engage or hone what we have.
This is on our consent agenda for tonight. Anyone have any objection to that? All right. So we'll leave that on there. We'll go to 2353, multi-agency SWAT ILA.
Thank you. This one is just housekeeping. It's after Lakewood and Metro SWAT had a divorce, we went to a tactical response team, which doesn't quite have the capabilities of a SWAT team. After doing that for 2 years and finding out it was difficult because we were using State Patrol if we needed SWAT capabilities. And mainly the only reason we would need them is for like a hostage rescue, that it would take a couple hours for them to respond. So the chiefs began chatting and we talked about moving back to a SWAT team. So what that means is training is a little bit different. There's more training required and the capabilities of the team are higher. So this is basically changing it from a tactical response team back to a SWAT team. Again, training goes up, capabilities of the team goes up. We should be self-sufficient. And Washington Insurance Authority is the one who helped us create this ILA. So that way they're on board with it as well, our insurance carrier. So it's an update to the SWAT. We call TRT SWAT Life. This is SWAT. Back to that.
Mm-hmm. I was able to pop in last night and the TRT was the training on the Citizens Academy. Yeah,
I saw Watson was there last night.
Yeah, they were talking about the transition coming up. So this, I don't believe, is on our consent agenda for tonight.
It's for the 25th. This one can actually wait.
Okay.
So there's no urgency on getting it signed.
Okay. Anyone have any issues with that being on consent for the 25th?
No.
All right. We'll go to 2355, fingerprint and firearm service contract.
This is our contract that we have with the Pierce County Sheriff's Department for fingerprint analysis and firearms analysis. So if we recover a fingerprint, they can run it through APHIS to find out who the owner of that fingerprint is. Or if we have a firearm that was used in a crime, they will analyze that firearm for us. We spend about roughly $1,000 a year for this contract. We don't use it a ton, but it's nice to have it when we need it. So this is just, it's not new, it's just our annual contract. I don't think we've signed one in a while.
Okay. And that is on for the April 25th meeting as well?
It's on, mine has it for the 11th, but I don't know if my AB is incorrect.
Didn't see it on.
Yeah, I see this.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I was looking at 57. Yeah, that is correct. Everyone good with that?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. We'll go on to AB 2357, contract with Pierce County Security.
Okay, this one is for the 25th, and this is for our annual contract for Allen York Park. It'll be the 2 security officers to work the park as they have done in years past. One will be checking people in and doing the count, and the other one will be making sure there's people that aren't coming around the fence and be working on issues like alcohol or smoking or things like that and alerting us to that. Then this also has the additional 2, one that will be monitoring the boat launch and one that will be monitoring the parking. So we're going to see how that works out. We're going to start out both of them just on the weekends, hopefully lessen the impact on the budget. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, starting with Memorial Day weekend. And then they will be back the following Friday, probably mid-June, we're thinking, or if the weather starts getting better, we'll have them there 7 days a week. but we'll see how it goes. But that's the plan right now, is to just have them there on the weekends to begin with, and then 7 days a week. And then we'll probably keep them there a little bit later on the weekends like we did last year, from 10 to 8. Their schedule is going to be 10 to 6, but we'll probably keep them there Friday, Saturday, and Sunday 10 to 8, especially as we get later in the summer, as the crowds tend to stay a little bit later and come a little bit later in the summer.
This will be all 4 of them staying later.
Yes, on the
Okay.
weekends. Yep.
What about the 4th of July? Are they gonna stay open later on the 4th of July?
Most likely, yes, and
Good.
probably, I would imagine, it depends on Labor Day being a Sunday, but 4th of July, definitely they will. And I can't remember, I think that's a Tuesday or a Wednesday, but typically, obviously, it's a later evening for everybody, so we'll ask them to stay late on the 4th too. And those are a couple days we have to pay overtime, so those are expensive days for us. Memorial, 4th of July, and Labor Day.
All right. And that is for April 25th.
Yes.
You're good with that? Okay.
Yes.
Next one, AB 2361, Metro K-9.
This one is also for April 25th, and another housekeeping for Metro K-9. We haven't signed this one in a while. There's some changes to the frequency of the training, and then the RCWs and WACs have been updated. So again, housekeeping, no cost. We don't have a K-9, but we do participate with the Metro K-9 that we use the K-9 from time to time. So we are a signator to this agreement.
Okay. And that one is also on April 25th. We're good with that?
Yes.
Okay. Next is AB 2364, an ILA with Sunnyside.
Okay, this one will give us a new jail contract, which is sorely needed to help us with our court commits. Our jail bill from SCORE for last month, which is the only place we can keep our court commits right now without filling up the local beds, was $56,000 for 1 month. So we are definitely looking at a way to drop that. So Sunnyside has agreed to hold our court commits for $60 a day instead of anywhere from $130 to $200 a day, which SCORE does. So we're hoping that this can get signed this evening, and I've got AC Keller is going to contact Sunnyside tomorrow and work with the court to try to get this implemented right away. We will be ending our guaranteed contract with SCORE at the end of the month, and we still have our guaranteed contract with Enumclaw. Again, the Enumclaw contract, we have 4 guaranteed. That's for original arrests. It's close. We can get them in there. They take most of our people. Our secondary is Puyallup. Our third is Pierce County. And then SCORE is kind of our last resort, but SCORE takes a lot of the people that the other jails will not take for either mental health or medical. So we like to keep them for our the people that require a little bit more intense management. So we will keep that contract. We just won't have a guaranteed contract with them, and we will use them sparingly. I'm also looking into Nisqually Jail. I have heard we used them in the past, but they would not take out some language that made them immune to liability. So if something happened in their jail because it's their sovereign, that we would be on the hook for all liability, although we had nothing to do with housing of that prisoner or how that prisoner was handled. I've been told that they have removed that for Sumner and for Lakewood. So we're going to ask that they can do that so we can have another local option for either new bookings or for court commits. But this one for Sunnyside, they will come and pick up, and then they will provide bus transportation back for the people that are held there. So appears to be a good deal. I know Gig Harbor uses them, have been very happy with them. So definitely would give us a cheaper option for our court commits.
Great, and that's on tonight's consent. Anyone have any issues with that?
No.
Where it's at? All right. All right, Chief, that wraps up your portion of the.
I need a break now.
You did 9 minutes. You knocked out 6 ordinances in 9 minutes.
Pretty good.
All right, the next one is AB 2360. This one is Judge Daniels. This is an MOU with Rainier Recovery Centers. Judge Daniels, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, we are asking for permission to authorize me to sign a memorandum of understanding with Rainier Recovery Centers to provide behavioral health and peer support services to those coming in the court that require those kind of services. Rainier Recovery is looking to get a grant from the Pierce County Behavioral Health Tax. And when they get that, then the services that they would provide to the Bonney Lake Court would be without any cost.
That's great. Now, this is a program we started last year, or almost 2 years ago.
Well, our community court we started it in April of 2021. Our grant funding for that is up June 30th, 2023. We have so many people that require services. This is just an additional service to provide the same sort of services that the people we contracted with Sound Integrated Health have been providing. It's just an additional opportunity for more services to be made available to these individuals and at no cost to the court or the city.
I like that.
Mhm.
This is on tonight's consent agenda. Anyone have any questions or concerns about that?
No.
Okay. Thank you, Judge Daniels. That'll be on our consent tonight.
Okay, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Then we have our minutes review. Anyone catch anything? I did. Our minutes review is for Finance Committee.
Well, that's. Oops. I did not catch that. I'm sorry.
I can be
I
I
didn't
attach the wrong ones, did I?
I don't know.
I might have attached the wrong ones.
Page 73 is the Finance Committee.
We will have the next one at the next.
Which those look good. So, I mean, maybe at the Finance Committee that was canceled, we had the public safety ones.
Yeah, can you report that for?
Yeah.
No, just kidding.
So we will
All right.
withhold approval of the minutes. Right. Well, now we'll get into the reports. We'll go to East Pierce Fire and Rescue Monthly Report. Chief Parkinson.
All right, looks like the stats start on page 78 of your packet. 78. Took up too much real estate this month. So you'll see kind of a general trend across the district of call volume being down. And the law of averages would tell me that will normalize back out and will probably be above by the time we hit the year's end. There's no specific reason why. I suspect it's just that we've had a mild winter so far, no serious weather events that have really spiked call volume compared to some of the previous years. Skipping forward onto sorry, I'm scrolling through here. On to page 82, where it breaks out by individual units. You will see that Engine 111, Medic 111, which are the units off to the left, which are the Bonney Lake units, both actually trending up a little bit. So while Bonney Lake has seen a little bit of a downturn in call volume, those units are still actually year over year up a little bit. So they're running some incidents outside of the city proper. On the next page, on page 83, normal breakout of what we see as far as what's driving service as normal. About 3 out of every 4 calls are medical in nature. And then skipping down to page 85, which is Tahali responses. And I just point this out that if you look at our trend, about 2 years ago, we were averaging about a half an incident a day out there, and now we're getting close to 2 incidents a day. So while we are not the primary response out of Bonney Lake, we're the secondary response if the Prairie Ridge station is out there. So that community is beginning to have a bit of an impact on us. The good news is that we're set to break ground there, hopefully midsummer on the station. So that's it on stats. Just as far as general information, just FYI, I will be in front of your full council on May 2nd just to give a year-end summary update of where we're at. Most of the stuff you'll have already heard, so it'll be a repeat. You can sleep during that portion if you'd like. But as far as station construction goes, we are near wrapping up Station 118 in Edgewood. We will have substantial completion next month and hope to be running out of that facility in June. Station 111 across the street, still making good progress, a little bit ahead of schedule on that. Fingers crossed, we'll actually be in that building about this time next year, somewhere in mid Q2 of 24. We do have our recruitment underway for our fall class, so we have 8 new positions that we're hiring, plus as of today, 3 unplanned retirements. So it'll be a class of 11 this fall. May grow by a couple more, but those folks will hit the street somewhere in early 24. And then just last item, if you've noticed, we have a new medic unit in service out of the Bonney Lake station. So it's if you'll know it by it's the one that's red and black versus the older color scheme didn't look that way. So that's the first time we've had a new medic unit in over a decade. So nice to see. That is all that I have. If there's any questions.
There was a pretty big fallout into Hawley a few weeks ago.
Yes.
Did that result
Structure
in-
fire.
It was?
Yeah. No injuries, but yeah. Good relative term. Bad fire. So actually a working structure fire. Crews, fortunately, everybody was in quarters, so had a decent response time out there. It is a long travel time, but was limited to the house of origin, which right now with that neighborhood, the way that it's built out with travel times, that's probably a success at this point that we don't have extension into any adjacent buildings or anything.
Yeah.
So
That was just up the road from a school, right?
probably,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't know the exact location. I was out of state, but yeah.
Oh, okay. That's it. Anyone else have any questions for Chief? All right, thank you, Chief. You walked in, I thought Albert had switched over to the dark side.
Yeah. Stunt double.
Yeah. All right, we'll go to item number 2, Bonney Lake Police Department Monthly Report, Chief Jeter.
All right, you have our report in front of you. It was a fairly busy month for us. A lot of stolen vehicle recoveries, a few stolen vehicles that didn't stop for us, typical stuff. And I think we talked a little bit about the multi-vehicle collision last month that we had at 410 in Myers, where vehicle got rear-ended. The 5-year-old girl was transported. So that was, we originally thought that was going to be very serious injury. Turned out that the girl is going to be okay. I don't know the extent of the injuries, but a lot better than originally thought. So we had that, and another DUI where a person got stuck on the curb in the park and ride. We've had an uptick in DUIs for sure lately. We had an instance at the Walmart where some juveniles thought it would be funny to drive by a person there and shoot a Nerf gun at him. He thought it was a real gun, so it caused quite a panic. But as usual, our officers were right on top of it and stopped the car at the AM PM here, and we found out it was Nerf guns and kids just playing around. So obviously, we had a nice chat with them and their parents about what's appropriate and what's not. But a lot of resources were taken up for these kids just messing around. But luckily, it was not anything more serious than a Nerf gun. And then as far as the stats go, we're enjoying a pretty decent decline in things. So assaults are down, burglaries are down, motor vehicle thefts are down slightly. Thefts are down quite a bit. I think I shared last month. I believe that's a lot of this is due to the officers' proactive effort. We had a theft at Famous Footwear this past weekend, and an officer was right on top and actually caught the people, and they pulled over for us. And the suspects said that they were surprised at how quick that we responded. They would not be coming back to Bonney Lake, which is exactly the message that we want to send. But we're hoping that the word is getting out, although, it almost daily yesterday at Target, I think there was 3 or 4 that the Target didn't even call in. They called us on like the 5th time that somebody walked out with a shopping cart full of stuff, and we were able to get it back. But again, I'm not sure. A lot of it has to do with the officers' good police work, but I think a lot of it too has to do with the businesses not reporting it as much anymore. So we'll see what happens on that. One thing is domestic violences are up slightly. The officers have been increasing our traffic enforcement, which I know is keeping Nina and the judge busy. But I'm hoping that has an impact. We've noticed our collisions are up and our aggressive driving and things like that. So we're hoping that the officers having a more visible presence out there with enforcement will help with that. Calls for service are down a little bit, as well as calls with reports. So that is my report. Is there any questions on that? I do have a couple of FYI items if there are no questions.
Yeah, go ahead.
I guess I do have a question. So, I know before we had talked about, businesses, I mean, obviously, if you're not gonna call things in and you chronically like to steal things, you're gonna tell your friends and you're gonna go to the location and steal again. And so, how do we, I mean, is there anything that, again, can be done to encourage these businesses to do some?
Well, it would have to be at the corporate level, and that seems to be, that's where the disconnect is. Famous Footwear is the worst. They'll call in and they don't want to do anything unless we catch them. And then if we catch them, they just want their stuff back and they won't prosecute. So again, we're taking officer time, but we are catching them, and the word is getting out that they shouldn't come here. But unless we can do something at the corporate level, because that's where all this is coming from, because Famous Footwear is told not to intervene. Marshalls is told not to intervene. Target, Walmart, Home Depot are about the ones that have the most active loss prevention. Lowe's, we never get a call from Lowe's. You can't tell me that they're not having the same problem that Home Depot's having. So
When they're saying intervene though, I just wonder if at a corporate level, if there's a misunderstanding between employees, managers and corporations where, they're saying not to intervene. A lot of times that requires a loss prevention officer, tackling somebody or stopping them in the doorway. But I mean, is really calling local police officers.
well, they're not helping with prosecution either.
Oh, I see.
So, and they don't want them to physically intervene, but they are saying, they are challenging them a lot of times at the door, and people just walk out.
Are they encouraging them to call police officers?
Sometimes Marshalls doesn't. We usually hear from other customers. That's how it gets called in at Marshalls.
Oh.
Famous Footwear is, but they just want their case number, probably for insurance.
Okay.
So yeah, it's unfortunate that corporate doesn't. I mean, we're all the ones that have to pay for this theft.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
I do have a couple things for FYI.
Okay.
Just wanted to update. We had some derelict vehicles in the right of way on 192nd by Walmart that was causing quite an issue with the neighbors. Problem house where this was, we actually towed them off of there. There was a motor home, probably going to cost about $3,000 to dispose of that. But there was no engine, no transmission. It was just, public eyesore and blight. But we took care of that along with a boat and a trailer, all three of those. So, it has made the residents happy, but it's not cheap to get rid of those things. So, just to let you know on that. The school zone speed enforcement study has been completed. We were going to try to have her give a presentation today on the results of that, but somebody took up too much of the agenda with agenda bills. So, we were going to have her come in May, but she is going to be out of the area. So I probably will give the report in May on the automated speed enforcement study and what the findings were on that. Just to let you know, it is done. So I'll probably send that out the next couple of weeks or so you have some time to look at it and have any questions. And she might be able to zoom in. I'm not sure on that yet, but at least we'll have an idea of what the study showed. And lastly, we had three positions sworn in last week. We had Sergeant Brian Byerly, who just got promoted to replace Ron Sasaki. We had CSO Lacey Michael, who's a brand new CSO, and an exceptional entry officer, Adara Marino, was sworn in. And then this Thursday at 3, we have Kabika Yasamura, who's getting sworn in. And we are now one person down. We're at full staff for about 2 days before Sergeant Sasaki retired. So now we're back down to one and looking to fill a position. And then our entry-level officer, Broderick Raimundo, goes to the academy April 25th, and he graduates August 31st. So we've got him doing a lot of the pre-academy stuff right now, but we are very happy to get him in April. His original academy date was December. So did an appeal and we got him in. So we're happy about that.
Is he new or is he a
Brand new entry level officer? So that's why he has to go to the academy. And but he's got about 10 years of corrections experience. So
Okay.
he's got some life experience and some corrections experience.
He's moving to the light side.
Yes.
Moving from corrections into-
So that is all.
Okay.
All right, thank you. Could I chime in really quick on the chief's note there? I just want to point out that our code enforcement budget does have a line item in it for abatement of those types of things.
Oh, okay.
We this year asked for $50,000. We got $2,000. Historically, we're tremendously underfunded in that, and so it puts us at a real disadvantage when it comes time to respond timely to items such as the chief is talking about there. We have 4 or 5 other severely blighted properties in Bonney Lake that we get constant complaints on, from needles to drugs to rats from the neighbors, and we have no money to do anything. So I just throw that out there as an FYI. When budget season comes around again, we'll be asking again for money to properly fund that program because it's a definite need.
Do you know if that actually came before us, or was that scratched before?
I don't.
I don't
It
recall
doesn't sound,
that.
yeah, it doesn't sound
Yeah.
familiar to me.
Yeah, I don't know where it dropped, but
That's before it got that.
What's the program called?
it's code enforcement. Yeah, and there's a line item for abatement in that budget that we just. And I think we went ahead and charged this to, or I think we talked about charging it to
When
the
we get,
abatement line.
when we get the bill, that's where it's going to be charged
So
to,
we can see
correct?
that that's,
Yeah,
the need is there.
Okay, and you said that there's 2,000,
I think it was 2,000 for this biennium, because I know we blew it all just on that.
yeah, because
hurricane
that's
that got
3,000.
towed. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
doing the math here.
Yeah.
one issue.
Right.
And then Ryan, do you record a lien against the property? So in theory, if it's sold later, the
Yes.
city can recoup the money.
Absolutely. Thank you. Yeah.
All right, well, thank you, Chief. We'll go on to item number 3, Prosecutor's Office Monthly Report.
Awesome. Thank you, Councilmember Evans. So this past month, we had a total of 355 court hearings. So that included 27 arraignments. So that's new charges being filed and new cases being prosecuted. We had 92 pretrial hearings. So that's a hearing where we're negotiating with the defense attorney and trying to resolve the case. And then we also, the SCORE contract came up earlier. We had a total of 47 SCORE and custody hearings this past month. So the SCORE docket has been pretty busy. In March, we're still having to resend discovery packets to the new defense attorney because the outgoing defense attorney didn't provide all the discovery to the new defense attorney. So our office sent a total of 205 discovery packets to defense attorneys last month, and that included 17.71 hours of body-worn camera. And just for comparison, in February, we only sent 129 packets. So, which even that number is a significantly large amount of discovery packets. And then the other thing I wanted to mention is that on April 17th, next Monday, we have one person who is graduating from community court, and that is going to be at 3 p.m. downstairs in the courtroom. So if anybody wants to come to that and check out the community court program, you're welcome to do that.
What day was that?
Monday, April 17th at 3 p.m. downstairs in the courtroom.
Thank you so much. Anyone have any questions? All right, thank you. Go back up to the top of the page. And we'll go to item number 4, Emergency Management Monthly Report. Regine.
You. So it's been a busy couple of months. I would say we started March off with our quarterly EOC exercise. So in March, it was a tabletop exercise facilitated by the Puyallup Emergency Management Team, which was awesome because all of us got to play in that one. So they did all the exercise design and came and facilitated it for us and came up with the scenario and everything. We were able to test at the time it was draft, our Emergency Operations Center activation plan, and got some good feedback for it. So able to update that. That plan is now finished, pending some final floor plans. So that was good. The exercise was very well received and very well attended. So lots of positive feedback on that. We do have a functional exercise coming in July. And this exercise is actually a follow-up from the one that we did a year ago. Last April, the school evacuation exercise related to Lahars. One of the questions that came up was, so what do we do with all of the people who evacuate? And there really wasn't a sheltering plan or mass care plan for how to handle the influx of people that would most likely come up the hill to us, to Buckley, and beyond. And so for the last year, we've been working on developing a sheltering plan that would be interoperable between the whole Epic region. And so the exercise in July, we will be testing that. So there'll be an exercise that will create an evacuation out of the valley. I won't give you all the details yet. And the exercise is built around how we care for, shelter, whatever we need to do for the people who find their way up the hill. And we'll be coordinating, so it'll be Sumner, Bonney Lake, Buckley, Carbonado, and Wilkeson all playing in that exercise with support by Puyallup and Ording. So it'll be a big exercise and lots of stuff to come. And my computer just went to sleep, so let me pull that back up. So that is July 27th, and attendees have been asked to mark their calendars for 8:30 to 3. So they have plenty of time to arrive, prepare, make it through the exercise, do a hot wash when we're done, and test all of the plans that will be involved. I already mentioned that the EOC activation plan is finished, so that's exciting. It's being uploaded into our Teams drive for our EOC team this week. We are well underway in our comprehensive emergency management plan update. Once a month, we have our emergency management committee that meets, and this month that meeting is being extended slightly, and Pat Donovan, who's the lead planner from Epic, will be here to work through our portion of that plan with us. So gathering information so he can get to writing. The deadline for that plan to be to the state is still the end of the year. So we're still in mad dash season for it. And then what's not in here, just a quick update. You already know that the continuity of operations plan was finished. I presented it to our management team during one of our monthly management team meetings. I haven't seen you guys in a couple months, but I got some really great feedback from some folks. So we're just going to do some small edits, and then the departments are moving forward with training their staff so that they're all up to speed. Once those final edits are made, it will also be made available to the council, and I'll be working with you all to determine if you need training around it, if you just want a presentation on it, and how, what that'll look like. So that'll be coming in the next couple of weeks.
Great. We do have the Lahar training back east. When is that scheduled?
It is in May.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yep. So it's the integrated emergency management course, and it is we travel May 14th. Out there, the course is from the 15th to the 18th, and then we come back on the 19th.
Okay.
So it'll be myself, Assistant Chief Boyle, and the mayor.
Okay.
So we have procured our airplane tickets and all of our transportation. So, yep, it'll be good.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Any questions? All right. All right, that concludes our report. So now we'll go into open discussions, Veterans Memorial Drive and East Main intersection. Man.
Yes, thank you. So in your packet is a briefing memo I put together on this particular intersection. This was brought about by some citizen concerns that were expressed to Councilmember McClymonds. In response, I told him that I'd like to prepare this and then bring it to the Public Safety Committee. So that's why we're here today. He received an email from somebody who was concerned about specifically people who go straight in the right turn drop lane. If you're heading what I call eastbound, is that correct, Chief? Eastbound on Veterans Memorial Drive from 410. When you get to the intersection with Main Street, you have a left turn pocket, you have a through lane, and then you have a right turn drop lane. You have to turn right onto Main Street. And this person's concerned because, according to their email, they've witnessed several times people getting confused and panicked there. So in addition to that email, Councilmember Clymonds also asked 3 questions. How many traffic incidents occur here? Do we own the intersection, and how to improve it to prevent passing on the right through the intersection? So in the interest of brevity, I'll try and get through this fairly quickly. Subnote to that, my son's waiting for me to pick him up from tennis lessons. So. But To address Councilmember McClymon's questions really quick, how many traffic incidents occurred here? The chief was able to pull the accident history on that intersection going back 5 years. There's been 10 accidents there. Only one of them due to somebody going through the intersection on the right turn drop lane and colliding with somebody who was going through the intersection as they're supposed to. We do own that intersection. However, signal maintenance is contracted out to the county. We need their assistance for that. And then how to improve it so that this doesn't happen anymore. And long story short, I wouldn't make any recommendations. It's signed appropriately. The proper channelization is painted on in the lanes, and the accident history doesn't seem to justify the need to do anything. The person who sent in the email requested a barrier to help guide the people back into the lane, and guidance is the responsibility of the channelization that's painted on the roadway and signage. We don't want to get into the habit of using barrier to guide traffic, because really what you're probably doing instead is creating the opportunity for more accidents, because people will collide with barriers if that's sitting there. So if the Public Safety Committee absolutely insisted that we do something, there may be an opportunity to install, we call them candlesticks, they're roadway delineators. You'll see some currently installed if you're heading towards 410 and Veterans Memorial. There's, I think, 6 or 8 yellow ones right in the middle of the road there to help prevent some of those left turn movements.
I always hit them when I leave Dairy Queen.
Thank you. So that's I would, and it's funny you mention that though, because I would say that those don't come without a little bit of additional maintenance. People do hit them, believe it or not.
No, I believe it.
And so, it really, they kind of introduce their own problem. And again, I would say in this case, there really isn't a need for that. So happy to take any questions. Hopefully the memo was satisfactory and addressed any questions you may have had. You could go through the expense of trying to actually change the roadway section by making a dedicated right turn pocket, if you will. That's going to require taking right away. And as you can see here, I included in there, I don't believe that anybody's going to willingly sell us right away, so you're probably going to have to condemn property. And I've learned already how the council feels about property condemnation. So, and we just wouldn't want to do that to those businesses there. You're going to be seriously impacting their ability to serve the customers that they would like to serve. So that's basically the high level of the memo. Again, I wouldn't recommend any changes, and I'll just kind of leave it there unless you have any questions.
Yeah.
Sorry, did Councilmember McClymonds get that as well?
I will send it to him.
Okay. And that was my only concern. To make sure.
Okay.
Close the loop on that.
Was it just that the citizen was concerned that people weren't aware that it was a right-hand only turn lane?
Yeah, and that people are going, and I have seen it happen once or twice. People will get in that right turn, we call them right turn drop lanes, and they'll get in that lane and they'll get up to the end of it and realize that that's exactly what it is that they have to turn right, but they want to go straight. So they'll try and finagle their way through the intersection and then get into the through lane on the other side of the intersection. And that's specifically why on the other side of the intersection, we have that widened shoulder area. You'll notice that the white stripe comes out further and around.
Yeah.
It's to provide a
block right there and let somebody run into it once or twice.
problem solved. Yeah, exactly. So that's why that channelization is that way at that intersection, is to provide a refuge area for someone. If they do go through there, they can pause there, wait for the traffic to pass by, and then merge into the lane. But ultimately, what they should be doing is, I mean, the signage is all there.
Yeah, I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm a little surprised by that, because I do feel like the signage is really clear in that area. And obviously, if you're in the wrong lane, then you take a right and then you course correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do it again the right way.
Sure.
And in any way, the data does not show that there's, chronic accidents happening there anyways. So.
Okay, I've made the mistake myself.
Yeah.
So, because I
Please
used
tell me
the
you didn't.
right,
Please tell me you
left hand. No, I didn't. I turned. I
You
merged
back.
over, but probably slowed the people down behind me. But I was like, I gotta get over. I forgot that this is the right hand turn lane.
The guy did mention the silver. So.
Yeah.
I will make sure this gets.
Okay.
Thank you, Ryan.
Thank you.
All right, and last on the agenda for open discussion, before we can get into regular open discussion, is boat launch limits for possible review of future legislation. I think I wanted to put this on here. This came up a few weeks ago, and this was about specifically limiting number of. This was reservation
Length. This was the
You
length
emailed
of
me
the
during a
boats and the
council
tow
meeting.
vehicles.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wasn't this to do with the parking, like permit parking?
Length of the vehicles, making sure if it's, or length of the boat, nothing over a 24-foot launch or 24-foot boat or something like that, so that we can actually use that launch for what it was originally intended for, which is, little dinghies and maybe some little 14-foot boats, not necessarily a F-350 long bed extended cab with a 38-foot speedboat pulling into the apartment complex to launch.
So then is this in discussing whether we should, because if we were to ask to limit the length of certain vehicles and or boats, then that would require enforcement.
Yeah.
And then someone would be there measuring. Okay. I don't know.
Is that something you'd want to pursue, Chief?
Negative,
Okay.
Ghost Rider.
I
There's
did
a lot of
get
clarity.
the concern from the gentleman that had come in before, and I wish I would have got his name, but he said that the problem wasn't really the boats. It was the single person, like the canoes and the kayaks and things like that, because they take the canoe or whatever off the top of their car and they put it in the boat launch area, and then they drive away to go find parking, and they leave their little single non-motorized boat there, and then they can't put a boat in there because this little dinghy's just floating around. And so he was like, is there some way to get those things out of the way, or have them launch the personal craft, person, whatever, like there's no motor.
Yeah.
What do you call that?
Yeah, just personal watercraft.
Yeah, with personal watercraft. If there was a way to have them launch somewhere else, like just carry it to the end of the dock or something and get it out of the way, because that's preventing boats from being able to launch.
That's why I always go to
That's
Lake Bonney.
really interesting because
I haven't heard that. And
Don't they like pull it around to the one side? Yeah.
Yeah, I know most of the kayaks I've seen there, they put it on the other side of the dock on the shore. Same with the smaller boats. I've never seen anybody leave one in the launch
Okay.
Okay.
and go park. They will either take it to the other side or they will take it to the end of the dock and tie it off.
Okay.
I've
Yeah,
never
that's-
seen anybody leave it like in the middle of the launch.
Okay, that's
And
good
we
to know.
definitely would have an issue with that if they did that.
Mhm.
But as far as limiting the length, I don't think that's a great idea because again, somebody's gonna have to do that. I would like to see what the parks consultant is gonna say
Yes.
about the launch.
Very
Okay.
curious.
I'm very interested to see if that is, the current configuration is going to support the future of launching boats there. And, I'm not an expert, but I can tell you what my opinion is, but that's worth 25 cents. So anyhow, as far as my opinion on limiting the length of the vehicle and the boat is, I think we're spitting in the wind a little bit because again, then it would require somebody to physically be there to measure it, and then there would be a dispute. I just think it's difficult at best.
Yeah, for me, the vehicle itself, I wouldn't really be worried about, but just the boat itself.
Common sense should tell you that you shouldn't bring a 38-foot speedboat in your quad cab long bed, but common sense is not so common anymore.
Get that on a banner somewhere.
That's our motto.
When are we going to hear from the park consultant in regards to just?
Well, I got
The
a letter
launch
in the
and
mail, and then the city just sent out last week the survey, Survey Monkey.
And I believe we originally invited them to come on the 18th this month, and that got canceled. I thought they were on for the workshop on the 2nd of May, but I also know there's some other big stuff on the agenda that night as well.
Fire
So I had thought they were preparing for May 2nd.
I believe so, because I
Dalmatian,
know
I
I'm
believe.
not here, just was gonna
Makes-
cover my part.
Second, yeah, that's a
So,
workshop.
so I believe it was originally.
So just for future conversation, is this something that the council is wanting to pursue as far as, because I know we've had extensive discussions in regards to parking spaces, but just reconfiguring just the launch itself, because it's pretty outdated, right? It's older and.
We don't own that, do we?
The launch?
The launch we do.
We do?
do.
Okay.
Okay, but is that something
So-
that as a council that we're gonna try to pursue and then ask costs for that? Is that what we're doing? Okay.
So I will be a little bit of a spoiler here and say
Sure.
that one of the alternatives I asked the consultant to incorporate was moving the launch further south from where it is now, so that we could gain some additional space there to be able to navigate vehicles around.
Yeah, it is.
Obviously, this is conceptual at this point, but
Okay.
that is something that you'll see in one of their alternatives.
Okay.
I suggested it move north, like County Park area.
Anyone else for any open discussion? Yeah.
We also asked that, well, if we're looking at the whole piece, is the consideration of, launching times. And if you go back to 2005, there is a lake taps management plan that Pierce County incorporated into their code, which therefore becomes part of Bonney Lakes because you adopted their code. It goes back to 1998 where they did kind of a survey. Well, it starts in 1982 actually, where they did a survey of how many boats were on the lake. And at that time, their estimate was about 400 at any one time. And then they hit 3 more targets where they do additional surveys. And so in 1998, it was up to about almost 1,000 boats. And the recommendation in the plan was that the city of Bonney Lake be able to secure the boat launch when the park is closed so that people can't launch. You know, the county is able to shut it down via their little, well, I guess when the park's closed, you can't launch a boat at the park. But that's the issue that a lot of people in the lake have is people launching after hours and being on the boat at night and not running nav lights, speeding, personal watercrafts, and just not a lot of good things happen on the water at night. So having the ability, I know that there's the pop-up, I don't know what it's called, the baller thing, and I know they had trouble with it, but revisiting that to see how it could be secure at night. So limiting that access. If they're going to do some legislation, maybe we can revisit that again.
Do we chain that off at dusk?
It's typically it is, but
Yeah.
Yeah,
You know,
we're
the-
giving them a code again this year so they could still get in after hours. If we
Yeah.
had some way to automate it, I would agree with that. I'd love to have a stop time where you can't launch after a certain time. It'll let you pick up, but not launch.
and I've had some interesting conversations with Jeff and Nancy, and I'm looking at a couple alternatives. I have reached out to the manufacturer who installed the bollards. They've been really slow to respond, but I am continuing to just kind of hound them because I'd like to know what it would take to potentially get that system up and running again. Since it's already there, we might as well know. But two, another thing that's interesting, Pierce County, I don't know if you all are aware or not, they are going to a reservation system this season for launching boats at their park. And I don't know exactly how that will work yet. If once they fill up 100 spots, they're done launching boats for the day, or if they're going to try and go through the pain of going, oh, we got one spot free. My understanding, Nancy, Jeff, I don't know if you've heard different, but it's the first 100 who reserved for that day or the 100 that get to launch that day, and then it's done. So I think there's room to consider something like that down here as well.
So I guess kind of piggybacking on what Nancy is saying, then with a consultant, I know that we're trying to figure out, how to secure the launch right now, but will the consultant give us, direction as far as if we were to relocate the launch, it being more secure?
Certainly. I don't know that I would expect that at this conceptual level just yet. That's something that gets a little bit more specific, but yeah, we can certainly, that can be something.
Because I think if we're going to put money into relocating, we've got to do something more to try to, for access to it. Yeah, okay.
Is it 100 at
the county's doing?
57, I think.
Oh, okay, that's based on parking stalls?
Yep.
Okay,
And before they used to just shut it down. I think what they're trying to do is help the people, because before it was first come, first serve. So somebody who got off work at 4:00, by 6 they would drive down, they couldn't get in. So they're
Yeah.
trying to give a fair opportunity. But you still have to get on the reservation system in that morning
yeah.
and make that reservation. Day before?
The-
Yeah, go ahead.
After the council session on this thing, I did an analysis of how this thing works together. The county system is a system that you could adopt. And I know that there's a connection being made between the number of boats that are launching and the 26 parking places that you have.
Mhm.
There's actually no reason for that linkage to be there. You operated all last year with no parking spaces at all. So you could do a reservation for 26 boats, and if somebody else wanted to launch, if you restored the system that was built at a cost of $86,000 in 2007, then you could operate the launch irrespective of the number of parking places, as long as the people didn't illegally park.
Yeah,
So it's a systems analysis and an optimizing routine that you go through to figure out how it's gonna work. But I made the call to the vendor, who still uses this installation at Allen York on the front of their webpage as their advertising.
Oh.
Okay, so the city council said, put this in when they raised the rates for launching boats. They spent $86,000 on it. In the first 2 months, made $25,000 in revenue. 80% of the people that were launching were from outside of the city. So I called the firm and I said, hey, do you guys still maintain this kind of system? And they said, sure, but we haven't been out there since there was a loop failure in 2017. So the question really is, why wasn't the loop repaired and the system sustained? That kind of revenue stream, the payback is 3 years. It's already installed. So the question is, why isn't it being used?
I think that's what Ryan was talking about, because that's part of the Bollard system as well, so he.
That is the Bollard system.
Yeah, he said just moments ago that he's been trying to get with them on a repair for that, but hadn't gotten much response from them yet.
You know, I'll pick up the phone and start pounding on them if you like.
Yeah.
That's an option. Huh?
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone
Well,
else?
I strongly suggest that the city consider putting in a parking reservation system for when you have expanded it, if you elect to do ball field 4. If you set that thing up properly, you don't need an attendant, you never will need an attendant. You'll have to patrol it twice a day. I'm sorry, somebody will have to go in there and ticket the people that didn't remove their rigs the night before or whatever. But if you set that thing up and people get used to it, you'll have a sustainable system. But this system, and man, it's like a learning curve. And the cost benefit ratio of doing this right and doing it once and then maintaining it and sustaining it is vastly superior to spending hundreds of thousands of dollars every summer on suboptimal manpower that doesn't work really well and make it work the way it's supposed to work.
Yeah.
And it's obvious. County has a system. I don't know what system they're using because I haven't pursued that yet. But a couple of phone calls to Pierce County Parks will tell you, is this an app that they bought? Are they providing it second? Is it an OEM? What is it? And can you use it? But it should be easily adaptable to Allen York's 26 spaces.
Brian did look into that.
Yeah.
This particular program is not adaptable, and I don't remember why he'd have to speak to that, but we did find out who county was using. That the program that they're using will not work. We'd have to ask Brian. He did look into it.
Well, the big difference is that the county can control it with their little, they have that guard shack right there. And we would have to, have the, kind of the drop arm.
They would have to talk to each other, and yeah, we don't have that system in place.
But there are a lot of parking reservation systems that can open and close a gate.
It's a relatively straightforward automation application to be able to issue a QR code or a barcode electronically to your cell phone, to be able to walk up to a kiosk and say, I'm here, I'm backing my boat in, and the gate opens, allows you to launch the boat. When you're clear, it closes the gate. It's not that.
All right, thank you. Anyone else on open discussion?
Were we gonna discuss the permit parking for the neighborhoods?
Or
I think
for-
Jennifer's bringing something back to the council. She's working on that. I know she sent out something to Ryan, so Ryan and her are working on that for 194th specifically to make it. I don't know if it's a no parking completely or if we're gonna do the residential passes like we have near the high school. I can't remember which one. She's working on it.
Okay.
probably next meeting or an actual open workshop.
Yep.
Do we know when the launch is gonna open? Because we're gonna be at recreational field this weekend. The water,
Yeah,
the water is running.
I don't believe, well, again, that's Ryan would have to, but usually they don't open it until Memorial Day.
For sure, Memorial Day?
I don't know for sure,
Well,
but
I think it's
typically.
open once, if the recreational levels in water, did they do an update? Because their recent update was it's not gonna be ready by May 15th.
They only said that, but the water's running. We are a foot away. We can't even tell you how much water's running in the river right now.
The lake is going up at 0.48 feet every 24 hours,
Yeah.
which is roughly 6 inches. And so in 3 days, or by 6 p.m. on Friday night, they'll hit 541.5. And by 2 a.m. on Monday morning, they'll be at 542.2. So they're putting in more than 1,000 cubic feet per second into the lake right now, and it is ripping.
But she's correct. The CWA issued a press release because they wanted to say we may not meet our April 15th date, but they're going to make it now. All of a sudden, the temperature went up a little bit. There's about 2,000 cubic feet of water per second running in the river, which is like.
And we just updated our voting page with our information. So if you go to residents and voting, it has the information. So it has the boat launch and parking info, and the boat launch will open for city residents when the lake is deemed to be at recreational levels by Cascade Water Alliance. So whenever that may be.
Friday night.
Going to be,
So
that'll be.
Once we receive notice, so we go based off of what they respond to
Probably
it.
won't be till next week.
Yeah,
officially.
imagine not.
At 3 p.m. and hit 540. 1.5 feet to go.
We're also only doing the Bonney Lake residents with the seasonal pass, so they have to have their pass and then they get a gate code before they can access the boat.
Good. Okay, so we'll want to communicate to them.
Yeah, so it's all on the voting page.
The people they're just like the little gerbils on the, and we're laughing because it's like, it's cold out. We really don't want to be out there anyway. But
Please be careful.
Everybody wants to say.
Okay, so tell them that as soon as Cascade announces, because that's what I'll find the page. It's just in one spot now, all the information?
Yes.
Hey, thank you.
Welcome.
And just for residents.
Yes, residents and then voting.
And they can get those, again, here at the PD. Thank you.
Yep, at PD, and there's 3 different methods to get those.
Awesome. Thank you.
But then it is limited, so to the number of parking spots. So it's first come, first serve. And then they can launch, but they have to park their trailer at their residence to figure out a way to get back. So,
But they would
Like
still,
they did
they still would have to have the pass to get the code.
yeah,
And then they would drive it home if they can't get to the 26th.
correct.
But no non-residents.
Correct.
Good year.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they have to submit their driver's license at least, so. At least the person applying for it.
For full disclosure, just so you guys know, Nancy and I haven't launched. We don't need any boat launch. The water hit the bottom of our concrete boat launch today. We're good to go. What we're trying to do is not have this constant undertone of unhappiness among a broad spectrum of people who don't get the information, don't want to listen to the information, and what goes on social media is wacko. And what we don't don't want to see is people just generally unhappy. Alan York to us is nothing more than what we consider to be a great community asset, and people certainly want it. We don't have any vested interest in Alan York whatsoever.
But we do want to, you guys get beat up the county. I mean, right now, there's a sentiment out there that somehow the governments are trying to restrict access to the lake. That's what they think is happening. And they combine parts together to come up with some conclusion, and, you can just do your best, and, you know how that is. So we try to help them and give them access to when you guys are going to speak on it and give them opportunities. They talk a lot, but as you know, they rarely show up,
Workshop, there wasn't much interest, easier to explain.
But the nastiness on social media and the accusations that are being thrown about are unbelievable. It's just, it's worse than kindergarten.
Councilmember Baldwin, do you have any other open discussion issues? All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We will call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you.
In a couple hours, hour and a half.